Welcome to another episode. In this episode, we will answer to the question: how and why do we limit ourselves to achieve less? How and why do we limit ourselves to achieve less? Refusing to face the problems, not like to be in the limelight. Fear, and mainly fear of success as well as fear of failure. Both are there. So we want to be in the safe zone. No failures. So no shame. If there is a failure, there is shame. If there is success, there is limelight. And some people are afraid of failures, shame, most of us. We don't want to be ridiculed by others. And some are afraid of success, to be in the limelight. People are afraid of that also, fear of success as well as fear of failure. That is why we limit ourselves to achieve less. That is the basic answer to the question. We will see some quotes or references. First is from Zen Money, 83 Steps to Zen Success by Derek Shah. Fear of failure is well recognized phenomenon. Failure carries with a real and lasting stigma. Society gives you a real and lasting stigma with repercussions of sufficiently daunting as to halt even at the earliest exploration dead in its tracks. The potential for ignominy or anonymity is so high that it prevents many people from even thinking about reaching for dreams. We do not even think about reaching for our dreams. For some, the remotest possibility of a loss of faith is too much to consider, and understandably so. So next is a reference from Beyond Positive Thinking by Dr. Robert Anthony. When you are worried, ask yourself, am I worrying constructively? Is this telling me something that needs to be changed? Or is it out of fear? Fear of loss, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of failure, or fear of what may not be in the future. Face your worry and see it as an illusion. It cannot exist unless you give it power and give it life. So face your problems. Don't give importance to your worry. It carries value when you give value to it. Next is from Bhagavad Gita for children and beginners. If you are constantly worried about the results, you will not be able to put your heart and soul into them for the fear of failure. Because of fear of failure, you won't be able to put heart and soul into whatever your efforts you are putting if you are worried constantly. That is the meaning. Next is a reference from the Course in Miracles. The real basis of doubt about the outcome of a problem has been given to God's teacher, for resolution is always self-doubt. And that necessarily implies that trust has been placed in an illusory self, for only such a self can be doubted. This illusion can take many forms. Perhaps there is fear of weakness and vulnerability. Perhaps there is a fear of failure and shame associated with a sense of inadequacy. Perhaps there is guilty embarrassment stemming from false humility. The form of the mistake is not important. What is important is the recognition of a mistake as a mistake. Recognize the mistake as a mistake. That's all. There ends. There is no question of failure or shame. Correct the mistake. Get over it. Revolution in Education, Yoga, The Science of Living. From these two books of Osho, we are taking a quote. When I look, I find that there is no more dreadful disease than fear. What else is there in life to be feared more than fear itself? Fear paralyzes the very being of a person. Fear destroys the whole capacity for rebellion. Fear makes any change impossible. Fear binds one to the known, and the journey to the unknown is completely stopped. Although whatever is worth knowing and achieving life is all unknown. Fear is not going to help. Fear always means fear of the unknown. Fear always means fear of death. Fear always means the fear of being lost. But if you really want to be alive, you have to accept the possibility of being lost. You have to accept the intensity, insecurity of the unknown, the discomfort and inconvenience of the unfamiliar, the strange. That is the price one has to pay for the blessing that follows it. And nothing can be achieved without paying for it. You have to pay for it, otherwise you will remain fear paralyzed. Your whole life is to be lost. Next is fear of failure, self-handicapping and negative emotions in response to failure by Jared M. Bartels. From that book, we will take a quote. Fear of failure is a motivational disposition in which the individual experiences shame upon failure and over-generalizes failure. This is by McGregor and Elliott, 2005. Moreover, individuals who fear failure tend to underutilize cognitive strategies. Example, metacognitive strategies, Bartels, Megan Jackson, 2009. This is a quote from that. That would enhance academic performance or overutilize cognitive strategies that increase the odds of failure. So, people who fear failure tend to underutilize cognitive strategies, and sometimes that would enhance the academic performance and sometimes overutilize it, which increase the odds of failure. While shame is prominent, negative emotional in fear of failure, negative emotional responses to failure in general may be more intense among those with high motive. Self-handicapping involves the use of self-imposed obstacles prior to performance, the purpose of which is to protect self-esteem in the event of failure. So people who are afraid of failures induce a self-induced obstacle and attribute the failure to that so that they can escape from the fear of or possibility of blames. You can say blames. It can be procrastination. Like before the exam, you have a fever. That is psychologically induced fever. So if you fail in the exam, you blame it on the fever, not on yourself. If I did not have a fever, I would have cleared the exam with high marks. But since I had fever, I could not perform well. That is how you explain. So that is a self-induced obstacle. So you attribute the failure to the self-induced obstacle, which is fever. So nobody will say you lack the ability to clear the exam. But without this self-induced obstacle, he might have cleared with high marks. That is a possibility. But fear prevented that. It induced the fever psychologically, and ultimately one could not perform well in the exam. So you escape the emotional consequence in this. So fear of failure and fear of success both are there. Come out of it. Understand it has no value unless you give it a value. So that is why the answer to our question is we limit ourselves because of this fear of failure or success. If you understand this, then you won't limit yourself but will reach your goal. That is the answer to the questioner who was asked how and why do we limit ourselves to achieve this. That is because of fear of failure as well as fear of success. With this we will end this episode. Stay with me for another episode. Thank you.